Kia ora. This program is brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Get your voice heard.
Tēnā now mai. Welcome to B-Side Stories on Tuesday the 31st of April. Ko Victoria Quade aho. And joining me in the studio this afternoon, I have Julius Charles Serrano. Now, Julius is a Wellington-based speaker, author, and results coach. And talk a bit about what's involved in results coach, in the work of a results coach later. But first, welcome to the studio, Julius.
Kia ora, Victoria. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Now, Julius, I understand you were born almost totally blind and then lost the remaining sight when you were quite young.
Yes. So I was born nearsighted, and I remember having very thick eyeglasses when I was a few months old. Remembering having old pictures of me wearing thick glasses. So my journey started with vision impairment at a very young age. And the moment I lost my eyesight was in my teens, when I was 16 years old in particular.
Okay, so you had limited sight when you were young, until you were 16, and then you were classified as being totally blind.
Yes.
But you have not let that stop you. You've worked in IT, information technology, as an accessibility consultant.
Yes.
And you emigrated to New Zealand from the Philippines in 2012.
Yes.
You are as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what brought you to New Zealand?
It was family. It was my sister who first came here in New Zealand in 2008, and they established themselves, my sister, her husband, and their children. And in 2012, they invited me to come here for a holiday. So that was the start of me being in New Zealand.
And what prompted you to migrate from the Philippines, where, the Philippines, you were familiar, you had a job, you were comfortable there, mm-hmm. but you decided to take this incredible leap to another country?
It was a very unexpected event. So my sister was working on an IT company here in Wellington, and she mentioned that she had a brother who was specializing in digital accessibility, which is what I was doing. I was doing remote digital accessibility work in the Philippines for a US company. Her manager was very keen to meet me while I was still on holiday during that time. They invited me over. They were very keen to learn about digital accessibility. So invited me over. I brought my laptop, my screen reader, and I presented the principles of digital accessibility. I let them listen to the screen reader. They were sitting very attentively. I showed some sample websites, and they were very open to the idea of digital accessibility.
Well, so tell us a little bit more about digital accessibility, because Wellington Access Radio, we have quite a few people involved in disability issues and accessibility, where the station is committed to the idea of accessibility.
Yes.
But I think sometimes people think that just means ramps and obvious, doors wide enough for wheelchairs. But there's a lot more to accessibility than that.
Absolutely. Digital accessibility is the practice of making digital content accessible to people with disabilities. Digital content includes websites, online documents, even the contents that you access in public kiosks that are electronic. So people with disabilities include people with vision impairment, people with hearing impairment, those who are totally deaf, and those who are hard of hearing. It also includes people with cognitive and learning disabilities and people with physical disabilities as well.
What are the sorts of things that can be done to make digital communication technologies more accessible?
When it comes to websites in particular, because almost everybody can use a website, understanding the access needs is the first and most important thing to remember. Understanding that not everybody can use a mouse. So making sure that your online contents are accessible via the keyboard. Understanding that not everybody can perceive images. So making sure that you have descriptive alternative text. And then understanding that not everybody can perceive the meaning of colors. So making sure that your content does not rely on color alone to provide instruction and information. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make your content accessible. But if you start with those fundamental things, you'll be on the right track.
So you actually came to New Zealand. You came to New Zealand on a holiday and ended up getting a job.
Yes. So several weeks later, I actually didn't think that it would result to anything, but it was completely outside my radar. And then several weeks later, my sister told me that the management, after carefully thinking about it, have decided to offer me to create a position as a digital accessibility consultant and offered to hire me.
Well, that's a good news story.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good news story. And so you went back to the Philippines and packed up and relocated in Wellington.
I immediately worked on the work visa because I already have an offer for employment. I actually stayed here and just worked on the visa in order for me to start right away. Work with
They were keen to have you.
Yes.
Okay, so now this is what you did 2012, and but somewhere along the line you also started. You became an author.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Yes. I have been writing down my experiences, like just the key points of it. I didn't automatically think of writing a book. I was just very keen to, I'm going to write these things down for something, for my children, for in the future. There was no structure, but it was all about how I overcame the adversity of becoming blind. So as I was an IT professional, because I've always been very passionate about personal development. I love reading books and also acquiring training on personal development, like motivation, productivity, even resilience.
Well, resilience is a term used a lot these days.
Yes.
What does it mean to you?
For me, resilience is more than just bouncing back. It is being able to overcome the adversity and become a stronger, wiser, happier, and even more fulfilled person, and being able to move forward. Stepping into a new identity, one that has structure and can inspire people to also overcome their adversities and challenges.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the adversities that you faced growing up as a limited sight, and then becoming totally blind. So, what were the biggest challenges you faced as a young man, as a boy and a young man?
As a nearsighted person attending high school, it was very challenging because I remember, I must have been quite a sight because I would read books very, very near. I'm just demoing it right now, but so I would hold the book extremely close because I need to be able to see it, need to be able to read it. So, it was the subject of many kind of interesting interactions with my classmates. We were just becoming more socially aware. It was the early to mid 90s. So I've experienced it, a couple of instances of bullying and being made fun of. So that was the first challenge of myself as a nearsighted individual.
Because you were just going to an ordinary school.
Yes, I was going to an ordinary school. We didn't have any special education departments back then.
Yeah. And as your sight went, so you started off, you were already very nearsighted, which led to teasing and bullying.
Yep.
And then, what was there any particular moment that was it a slow process or was it fast? Becoming blind?
Yeah, right after graduating from high school, it was a gradual process. So it was after graduating, my eyesight deteriorated significantly. It happened over, I would say, a period of like several weeks. First,
so really quite a short amount of time.
Yeah. First, the colors became very hard to distinguish. It was very hard to distinguish red from blue. That was the first thing to happen to me. And then the lines and shapes of objects, of people, of everything that I saw started to blur. And it came to a point where I could only perceive light. I could perceive light if there was light inside the room that I was walking into. And right now, I would say it's various shades of gray that I'm perceiving.
So you can know if the light's turned on or off, but that's about it.
Yes, that's about it.
That's about it. Well, it's interesting you're talking about your experience because everybody's experience is different. Last year, we had a great conversation on B-Side Stories with the people from Eye Health Aotearoa who are promoting eye health and recommending you don't just go. A lot of people just think it's about your sight. They think, oh, well, I can see everything fine, and so they don't have their eyes checked until maybe they get older. Whereas Eye Health Aotearoa is promoting the idea that everybody needs to get their eyes checked every year to find out what their eye health is, because it can change.
Yes, definitely.
And not just with age, but you can get an infection. All sorts of things can happen. And I was also lucky enough to talk to Bronwyn Anderson, who became blind in her 70s and had to adjust then.
Yeah.
So what kind of adjustment did you make? So you had limited sight, but that you relied on, and then you had no sight.
Yeah. I had to deal with the depression. That's the first and major adjustment, because I was in a point where I was blaming the environment. I was blaming the school for giving me too much schoolwork. I was blaming myself. So the first adjustment that I had was to manage and acknowledge the the heavy emotions. The next one was to take responsibility. I did not choose to become blind, but I went inward because I had so much time to myself. I was basically isolating myself because I thought then that nobody was understanding me. So I came to a point wherein I knew I had to take responsibility and choose what I want to do with my life. That was the next adjustment. And the next one was to be able to adapt to the environment and figure out what resources I still had. Because eyesight was a really huge part of my life. I remember myself watching cartoons, reading comic books. I was a very, very visual young adult back then. So being able to adapt, making sure that my personal belongings were on a specific area in the house, and clearly identifying what do I still have. Because I was at a place where I felt such great loss when I lost my eyesight. So I had to be clear on the resources that I still had.
So, like taking a stock of what you did have, because you were so aware of what you didn't have.
Yes,
you needed to look at what you did have. Well, I want to talk about that resilience and what you found through that. More about what you found through that process. But we're going to take a break with some music, and I'm talking to Julius Charles Serrano about becoming totally blind as the same time he was graduating high school, and how he reconstructed or had to construct a different life than the one he was expecting at a very young age. But this is a great piece of music. This is from Jan Preston. I was recently in Wellington. It's from her latest album, Piano Boogie Woman, and it's based on an old favorite, The Glory of Love. You're listening to B-Side Stories on Wellington Access Radio 106.1, Victoria Quade, and I am talking to Julius Charles Serrano. Julius is a motivational speaker, an author, and a results coach. He's also been a accessibility consultant for the IT, the information and technology industry. And so welcome again to the studio, Julius.
Yeah, Victoria.
Now, Julius, we were talking earlier about the challenge of becoming blind as you left high school, and the depression you suffered when you lost your sight completely. You'd been a low vision, but you mentioned that you were quite a visual person.
Yes.
You enjoyed comics. You enjoyed reading, and suddenly you couldn't do these things anymore.
Yes.
So, and you took a sort of like a stock take of, okay, I can't do these things. And you took control of your life. So tell us a bit more about taking control of your life. How did you manage it? Did you have support?
Definitely. My support network, my mom, my siblings, they were the first support network that I had as I was dealing with losing my sight. So that was one of the biggest reasons why I was able to cope and adjust. The other things that I did was to understand the perspective that I was having. of being blind. Because what I've discovered is the blindness itself is only a small part of the challenge, but it's the emotions that I, for one, experienced when I became blind. So having perspectives like those, it's the emotions. So that was the other thing that I managed to achieve when in the process of adjusting.
So it was recognizing that your emotions were causing you more problems than the actual blindness.
Yes, the emotions. And in that space that I had, because I had so much time for myself, in that space, it allowed me to accept those emotions and move towards a perspective of adjusting how I talked to myself. Rather than blaming, being aware of what I'm saying to myself as I was spending those quiet moments. And eventually, it took me a long time, but eventually stepping into that place where I became my own friend again, rather than being my critic and the one blaming myself.
Okay, well, let's talk about how much time it took. So you were about 16 when you lost your sight totally.
Yes.
And that's a time when people are choosing careers or have already decided they're pursuing further study, starting to work. And the things that you might have thought of before you lost your sight were not options for you.
Yeah.
And so how long did it take you to go through this process of becoming a more confident person? You come across as a very confident person.
Thank you. It was almost a couple of years. I would say it's stages for me. I first had to overcome the emotional side of it, and then the practical side had to be addressed next. So when it comes to the emotions, identifying them, being clear, accepting them, confronting them even. And for the practical side, learning how blind people read and sharing with my friends, because they didn't know what actually happened to me. I didn't keep in touch with them, especially when I was losing my eyesight. So being able to step out into the world again.
So reconnecting with people that you had known. And when you talk about confronting the emotions, does this mean confronting the negative talk?
Yes, confronting the negative talk as well as the feeling of experiencing the emotions. And identifying what is it that I'm feeling right now, giving it a name. When I found it very helpful, identifying what I'm feeling in order for me to shed more light into it and do something to, eventually let the emotion lose power over me.
And at this time, you were learning what resources, you mentioned you were learning what resources were available to someone who was blind.
Yes.
And you're fortunate that the digital technology had progressed or advanced to a stage where there really are tools that someone who is blind can use.
Yes.
And so describe some of the tools that you found useful.
I remember the time when I was learning Braille on a public school. One of the special education teachers approached me and asked me a lot of questions. And, I was a typical angsty teenager back then. I was thinking, why is this teacher asking me so many questions? But I just, answered, and what she said next really, I would say it was one of the things that have changed my life. She asked, do you know how to use computers? And I was thinking to myself, I'm blind. How do I use computers? Because she said, there's a computer school for the blind, and it's just about to open its doors for registration. And I said, what? Computer school for the blind? Blind people can use computers. But we quickly got the contact of the founder of that computer school, and they introduced me to assistive technology.
And so assistive technology means any technology that helps you do things.
Yes. An example would be a screen reader, screen reading software. For blind people, they cannot see what's on the screen. So the assistive technology, known as a screen reader, speaks it in order for blind people to hear it. So it eliminates the barrier of not being able to see the text, because it provides a semi-human, semi-robotic voice that blind people can hear. It's actually pretty cool. So that was the first life-changing assistive software that I was able to use. Of course, there was support. The computer school for the blind had to, teach us how to use it, how help us become more familiar with the keyboard. And there's also a part of connection. And I would say they were my second support network, because I was introduced to so many blind people. And I was able to connect with them and share experiences, and realize that I wasn't alone in this world.
And was your experience at the computer school for the blind, is that what led you into your career in IT?
Yes, it was them who taught me the fundamentals of information technology. It was through the screen reader that I was able to continue studying in college, take a course in computer science back in the Philippines, and finish my studies, and eventually start my career in information technology and digital accessibility.
Which brought you, on a holiday in New Zealand, visiting your sister, who was already working in IT in New Zealand,
yes,
led to a job in Wellington.
Yes.
So this is do you still work in IT, or have you moved on?
Only when I want to.
All right.
So I have the wonderful best, because I do believe, as a person who has access needs, as a person who is blind, I'm still very passionate about digital accessibility, because, in a way it benefits me. As you said, I believe that it benefits, 24% of New Zealand has some form of disability. So thinking about that, I can, I have 100% support still in digital accessibility.
What are your favorite accessibility tools, would you say?
The screen reader is one of them, definitely. Being able to hear web content and identify the gotchas that, sighted accessibility consultants often are not aware of. But identifying, the issues that are causing accessibility barriers. So that's one. That's the screen reader. Also, there's a device called a Braille display. This is for people who are deaf and blind. It enables them to read in Braille the currently highlighted text on the screen. That is a very powerful electronic device that enables us to understand, how web content is being displayed in Braille.
So it's a tactile, Braille being a tactile thing.
Yes.
That allows someone who can't see or hear.
Yes.
To to find out what's happening.
It displays the text dynamically. So it changes when the user moves to another part or moves the cursor. It changes dynamically into the on the Braille equivalent of that new text.
Yeah, so that's amazing that exists. But you mentioned that you quite enjoy looking for the gotchas, looking where they haven't quite got it. So you still keep an eye out for things that can be improved.
Yes.
And what do you do when you come across something where they haven't done a good job?
It's always, communication is key. It's always being able to identify it, explain why it's becoming an issue, cite the international guidelines, the actual web content accessibility guidelines success criteria, and explaining it to them. Providing a demo whenever available, and testing. Once the developers have tested it, just test it, verifying the improvements and how else could the web content be improved.
Well, look, I think that's probably something that until people automatically include accessibility in their content creation, I think you're going to have the opportunity for the work for some time.
Yes.
But all of these experiences led to you becoming an author, writing the Resilience Code. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about the Resilience Code, which is available on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And looking at you say it is master the 4 keys to triumph over any adversity.
Yeah.
Now, your adversity was becoming blind.
Yes.
But you're arguing that the steps of these stages relate to any life experience.
Yes.
And so just quickly run us through the 4 keys.
Okay, cool. So before we start, this Resilience Code is, I would call it my life's work because I lived each and every principle before adding it into the code. These are the very things that have helped me overcome the challenge and become stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled, and move forward and contribute to society. So it has 4 keys. Code, Resilience Code stands for C, create your foundation for resilience. Now, each key has 3 specific principles, but let's look at the 4 keys first. So C stands for create your foundation for resilience. O stands for optimize adaptability and perspective. D, COD, D stands for develop connection and purpose. And E stands for elevate your resilience to results.
And each of these keys is broken into three parts.
Yes. So for, just giving a very quick overview, so for create your foundation, we have 3 principles. First one is to acknowledge and express your emotions effectively. That's one of the first things that I did when I was experiencing that overwhelming challenge. Now, your challenge may differ, but every challenge has its emotional side. And when you acknowledge it, you will be able to move forward. Now, the next principle would be to take full responsibility for your life. That's the second part of the creation of your resilience. This involves stopping the blame game. That's one of the techniques there. The third principle would be to harness resourcefulness to overcome obstacles. This is the very thing that I had. I had to create a sort of a inventory of what I still had to move myself from that mindset of loss to realize what I still had. Now,
and that included a supportive family,
yes, definitely.
and skills in computers.
And friends who lifted me up. The second key is to optimize adaptability and perspective. 3 keys: nurture positive emotions in daily life. In order for you to adapt, you need to be able to have that positive emotion in you.
And what sort of tips do you have for nurturing positive emotions? Because a lot of people talk about how there's a lot of reasons that people get depressed. There's a lot of things that are negative thoughts that often negative thoughts because there's a lot of negative stuff out there.
Yes.
So how do you counter that?
So there's 3 things. Practicing consistent gratitude. At the end of the day, just spending time on the things that you are grateful for. The second one would be to savor the positive moments. Savor it. Not just, the positivity doesn't have to be fleeting. When you're enjoying your favorite cup of coffee, just spending more time being present and enjoying it. And the third one would be acts of kindness. Showing small kindness to people that you know, as well as, people that you don't know yet. So those are the biggest ways to nurture positive emotions in daily life. The next one would be to develop adaptability. Now, the biggest tool here is to have a growth mindset and to be open to stepping out of your comfort zone. Having a growth mindset means, using empowering statements like, I can't do that yet. Yet is a very powerful word, but I'm learning. Having self-talk such as that. The next one would be to reframe adversity and shifting your perspective. The biggest technique here is to be able to ask yourself, what would my most supportive family member or friend see in this situation that I might be missing? Having a new perspective will enable you to see a different viewpoint when it comes to your adversity. And one tip would be to physically move. When you're thinking about your situation, your current challenge, I encourage you to move to another place and look around.
You mean like if you're in a room, go outside?
Yes, go outside. You're going to see a lot of things, and, one thing might trigger a specific idea or introduce you to a new perspective.
Like try things that you haven't tried before, or go to activities that you haven't done.
Yes. Trying new things.
And what if you say, oh, well, I tried it and I didn't like it? That's okay too?
Yeah. You either win or you learn. Because if you didn't like that, at least you know what you don't like. So you get more clarity on the things that you like. Now, the next one is to develop connection and purpose. Now, this is one of the most powerful things. I mean, all of them are powerful, but under developing connection and purpose, you have build a strong support network. When you are experiencing adversity, you tend to isolate because you might feel that it's only you who's experiencing it. But when you step out and see who is still in your corner, ask yourself, who's still in my corner? And when you develop just one meaningful connection, that can be very transformative and very healing.
And you mentioned that in your own experience, you had lost touch with friends because of your experience of going blind.
Yes.
And it took an active seeking out your friends again. And you found that while they didn't understand quite what was happening, or they were unfamiliar, they were there for you as friends.
Yeah. Just to be able to listen. And it was very soothing to me to hear how they were. because I eventually realized if that was possible for them, maybe it's also possible for me. And, the opening my mind up, I believe, was one of the things that have, attracted the opportunities, such as the computer school for the blind, keeping an open mind.
And the last one, of course, is the elevating your resilience to
Yes.
results. So this is very important.
Mm-hmm. Resilience is an inner journey, but I believe that it's the purpose that you've developed resilience is to translate it to outer results. So when it comes to elevating your results to resilience, it is all about evolving into a new you, stepping into a more empowered identity. It also involves inspiring others through your journey, being in that place of contribution. You have learned so much through building your resilience. Now it's time to help another person and share your journey with them. And then finally, once you've done that, you're in a place where you can transform your resilience into results.
And this has led you to one of your current activities is being a results coach.
Yes.
So tell us, what does a results coach do?
Mm-hmm. That's one of the ways that I provide value. So I provide keynote speeches and talks for groups, and results coaching is what I do for people who would like one-on-one support. Results coaching involves, number one, identifying what it is that you'd like to be, do, and have, and then identifying the things that may be stopping you, such as limiting beliefs, trapped emotions, things like those. Identifying those, being in alignment with what you want, and taking, and this is very important, taking inspired action so that you will become closer and closer each day to what you want to be, do, and have.
So it's sort of like a personal trainer for
Yes.
a personal
Yes.
trainer for resilience.
Oh, yes.
So you're on the journey. The person you're working with, they're the ones who are doing the work, but you're there cheerleading them on and saying, "Well, come on, just let's have a look at that another set. Let's do another set."
Yeah, and keeping them accountable.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a very fulfilling feeling to check in the following week and see the measurable things that they've actually done to get them closer to their desired result.
And you do this work online.
Yep, on the phone. It also depends, on the preference. There have been times when I did it in person. That's always very, an enjoyable experience. But it also depends on the preference of the person being coached.
Yeah. Well, that is fascinating, Julius. And we have about 4 minutes before the end of the show. Mm-hmm. So, anything you would like to, your journey is by no means over. Mm-hmm. If someone wants to find the Resilience Code, how do they find it?
It's available in Amazon. It's called The Resilience Code. Master the 4 keys to triumph over any adversity. Mm-hmm. You can also get in touch with me if you would like to acquire it directly and not through Amazon. You can email me at hello, HELLO, at Julius Serrano, JuliusSerrano.com. That's my email address. You can get in touch with me, and that's how you could get a copy for yourself.
Well, I'll post that up on the B-Side Stories website.
Awesome.
Or Facebook page rather, which that I'll add that to the notice about this program. Mm-hmm. And you're listening to B-Side Stories on Wellington Access Radio 106.1 FM. You can listen to B-Side Stories, of course, live on your radio or live stream or through the Wellington Access Radio website, accessradio.org.nz. And after a couple of days, our programs are put up on the shows and podcasts under B-Side Stories. B-Side Stories features stories from interesting people doing interesting things. And Julius, you definitely, I would say definitely you have been doing interesting things.
Thank you very much, Kyo. Thank you very much, Victoria, and thank you, dear listener, for spending your time with us.
And so what's ahead for you? What's ahead for you for the rest of 2026? Because 2025 you were putting together the Resilience Code, which was published. And this year, what have you got in mind?
Providing more value, doing more talks, getting the message out there, and sharing my journey as well on different channels such as YouTube, and sharing more learnings on resilience and other personal development topics.
And you're saying it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something you just do every day with support from other people. It's identifying those things you need to do that help you build your resilience. It doesn't happen overnight, but
it has a compound effect.
Yeah. Well, look, Julius, I'm really happy that you were able to join us. Next week, I'm going to be talking on B-Side Stories. I'm going to be talking to Mike Bodner, a broadcaster and also someone who became an author. So that will be a good story. You can listen to past episodes of B-Side Stories by going to the Access Radio website, accessradio.org.nz. If you look up B-Side Stories under shows and podcasts, they will you can and look at the date. You can listen to programs made by other people on the B-Sides team. B-Sides is one of Wellington Access Radio's community zone programs every weekday at 5 o'clock to 6. And there's also Hut Zone, which is a great program. Simon Howard from John McDonald, and Simon Howard does a great show on the arts. And Amy Delahunty, who works for Wellington Access Radio, does the sort of community neighbourhood roundup on Fridays. And of course, there's us, B-Side Stories. So thank you, Julius, once again. Ko Victoria Quade ho. And I hope everybody has a good rest.
That program was brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Get your voice heard. Thanks New Zealand On Air for funding accessmedia.nz.